Drew, I mean, you have been the Lions supporter. You've been the Ramley guy. So do the Lions, in their first home playoff game in 30 years, go out with their former franchise quarterback eliminating them?
Now, let me say this. You say Cinderella season. I don't feel that way, personally. I think coming into the season, if you knew anything about anything, you felt as if they would take a leap. They have the offensive pieces. You know Amon-Ra has the talent. David Montgomery obviously gives them a boost in the run game. Jahmyr Gibbs was an excellent rookie prospect. Never anticipated him to be this great this quickly. And Sam Laporta, the breakout that was. When you got the reports that he would be a big part of the offense, you kind of wait with rookies in that conversations, but then seeing it actually play out, that's really what was great to me. And then the defensive side of things, I believed in Aiden Hutchinson. I believed in the young players that they do have in that offense. Bringing in Cam Sutton, unfortunately, C.J. Garner-Johnson did miss most of that season, but he was supposed to be a big addition for them in that secondary, which was what they needed help with the most.
He's back now.
And he is going to be playing, which is a huge boost for them. But even still, the secondary for the Lions is not the best. When it comes to giving up points, they still are, I believe, right now 22nd in terms of yards allowed. So I don't call it a Cinderella because kind of felt like this would happen. I still feel as if this was their division all season long. The defense kind of made things a little bit scary at times. But last year, we saw them produce one of the best offenses in football. We saw that happen once again. And then you add another dynamic player to that. And week by week, even though Jameson did get banged up in that Dallas game, we're starting to see him now be incorporated into this offense a lot more, which adds some explosiveness, adds some speed, some big play ability. And he's going to be playing this week against the Rams. This was by far and away the toughest matchup for me to take for the idea, you guys know, very high on the Lions. But the Rams, when you have Matthew Stafford out there with the Kyren Williams, with the Puka Nacua, with the Cooper Kupp, the best offense in the league. And there's some amazing offenses, but we're talking about the Rams as the best. To me, this is the toughest one, but I'm turning my back on the Lions, unfortunately. I'm going with the Rams. I think that with the way that Matthew Stafford has been playing this whole season, Puka Nacua, breakout rookie, Cooper Kupp, of course, we know how great he is. Kyren Williams is the X factor, even still with all that being said. You know how great he's been on the ground. He's versatile. He still gives you that pass-catching ability. But why I say he's the X factor is because the Detroit Lions' strength on defense has been their run defense. But Kyren Williams has been one. You could argue he's been the heart and soul of that offense, even though you know Matthew Stafford, you know Puka Nacua. But the impact, the ability to just beat you up, that's just been Kyren all season long, outside of course, the time that he missed. But when he's on the field, his presence has been felt. If the Lions cannot stop Kyren, the Rams take full control of this one. And I think that it'll be an offensive shootout regardless. I think the Lions will still be able to put up points just for the idea the Rams defense it's not bad. It's not a great defense. It's a good defense. They do have some strong pieces on that side of the ball. But I just think the Rams offense at this point is better than the Lions. And the Lions have had an awesome season. They'll be back next year. But I just think the Rams, they're going to pull this one out.
You hear that, Sean? Turn his back.
I'm sorry to my brother Sean, and I know that he's upset at me. He just added me in the chat.
Oh, did he?
He did. But at the same time, this isn't an indictment on the Lions. It isn't. It is more so giving credit to the Rams and who they've been, understanding that Matthew Stafford lives for these moments. Jared Goff's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. But Stafford's going home. And we know when it comes to big moments, there are maybe less than 3 quarterbacks in the league that I would take over a Matthew Stafford. He just lives for these kind of games.
There is so much on the line for the Lions in this game that I've been pulling back and forth on this one. I didn't know who I'm going to pick. At first, it was very easy for me. You know, if you asked me this question 2 weeks ago, I'm like, it's the Rams. A week ago, it's the Rams. But now that we're here, people treat this as Matthew Stafford's homecoming. But I think this is more so Jared Goff's revenge game.
Respect that.
For a team that just dumped him and didn't want any part of him. And they had a lot of dead money to move on from Jared Goff because they didn't feel like he could lead them to where they wanted to go. The ups and downs the Lions have went through in the Dan Campbell era, for them to have the first playoff game in 30 years, I think there is a scenario where Matthew Stafford is a little bit overwhelmed by the emotion of being back in Detroit.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
I think that there is a scenario where that can happen.
He's back on questioning Matthew Stafford. Who would have thought?
I'm not questioning Matthew Stafford. It's just that's a lot for a guy to take in. For a guy to his first time being back in Detroit, to see that place, how it's going to be with all those fans, and to know that you got to be the guy to eliminate a franchise that you love for so long. I feel like it's going to be hard for Stafford. I really do. But, Stafford's a professional at the end of the day.
He'll be received well, too, I believe. The Lions fans will give him some love.
In this game, if he wins, they probably applaud him. But I think in this game, he is the enemy.
He is.
I think the Lions fans treat him as that as well, that he is the enemy. There was a fan page that made a ban about having his jerseys at the stadium for this playoff game. It wasn't put out by the team like some may have thought. It's a fan that did that, a Detroit Lions fan page. The emotional aspect of it, I just feel like it's all riding a wave of momentum for the Lions to win this game. I kind of just feel it in my gut that they will, but then I look at the analysis and I look at the facts and I look at the evidence. Both teams match up well against each other.
Most definitely.
But I think the difference in this game is going to be the interior pressure and I think the passing game. So you mentioned the run. The Lions have been great at stopping the run because they sell out against the run.
For sure.
They are one of the worst teams against play action.
Yep.
That's where the Rams live right now.
For sure.
Right now, 95% of their offensive plays are run through 11 personnel. So they spread you out. They force you to have more defensive backs on the field. And when the Lions are in dime personnel, they're 31st in EPA per play because they don't have much secondary players to really trot out there. I don't think the Rams will necessarily be effective on the run, but I think their play action game will be effective. And I think Matthew Stafford will have a lot of snaps from shotgun and pick apart the Lions defense. And I do trust this offensive line to hold up. The other week, I talked about the Rams' outstanding draft. One of those players was Steven Avila, who is their guard, who's been excellent for them. You have Rob Havenstein on the right side. He's going to be blocking Aiden Hutchinson. So I'm very comfortable with him handling that matchup. The Lions this year, 31st in run stop win rate, 26th in pass rush win rate. Their front four doesn't win. They just allocate more bodies into the box to win versus run looks. I look at the Rams, and Aaron Donald, to me, is the X factor in this game. And he's one of the greatest defensive players of all time, but he's the X factor because the Lions, despite a lot of myths that their offensive line is great, their tackle play is great. Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell, they allow the third most interior offensive line pressure in the NFL. Aaron Donald and rookie Kobe Turner are top 10 in pass rush win rate this year. I think it's going to be a mismatch on the interior. Jonah Jackson has been very unreliable at that guard spot.
Yep.
I think Aaron Donald and Kobe Turner are going to have a great day.
It's a field day.
And the Rams are going to win because the Lions will have to sell out for the run. They will not be able to stop these play action looks. I think the Rams will get a lot of interior pressure on Goff. When Goff is under pressure, he crumbles. And especially from the interior, that's the worst type of pressure. When your guards and your center is being beat, that's the worst. So I think Goff will have a subpar game because he will be pressured a lot. And that's why I think the Rams are going to win. But I will say, I think just the emotional turmoil of this game is kind of heading for the Lions to pull off something that they haven't done in a very long time.
You still don't think Matthew Stafford smells blood in the water? Like, Matthew Stafford, he definitely has it in his mind, hey, this was home for a long, long time, but I got a job to do. I understand that. I spit a lot of bread with some of those guys over there, but at the same time, I still want to make history myself. I want to show that the Rams made the right move by trading by me, even though that was already proven 2 years ago.
Stamped,
Yeah, that's why I said this is more of a revenge game for Goff. And I think
It is.
Goff has passed a lot of tests this year. A defense coordinator that he had little success against was Brian Flores, dating back to the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Brian Flores was the one who game planned that Super Bowl. Goff was terrible. Goff, when he's faced Brian Flores, has been terrible. But this year, in the two matchups against Minnesota, Goff played really well. So that's maybe a sign of things to come of Goff exercising some of his demons. I do think Goff is a better quarterback now than he was then. This is a tough game, but I think a lot of these signs point to the Rams winning. And that's why I'm going to go with them.
It's a tough game. I was going back and forth just like you guys. So all three of you, Riv's not here, but all three of you guys are going with the Rams.
Your pick is surprising.
I think these teams share a lot of similarities. I think, for one, these are both offensive-driven teams. When you look at the Rams and the Lions, they're both top 10 in points and in yards. They can both throw the ball, both top 10 in passing yards, both run the ball, top 11 in rushing yards. And I do think both defenses can be exposed. But I do think both teams also have a massive advantage on both of their sides. I think for the Rams, it's having Sean McVay, a head coach that's been in multiple Super Bowls, has won a Super Bowl, has been in deep playoff runs, and as the play caller, knows what to do in these high leverage situations. That's not to say that Ben Johnson can't. I think he's going to have a great game plan, but I do think that's a pretty big advantage that the Rams have been here, have done that. But then I look at the Lions side of things, and I do think their big advantage is their rush defense, because as Drew mentioned, Kyren Williams has been sensational this year. You can make the argument after CMC, he's been the second best running back in football, and even after missing 4 games, he's still second in the NFL in rushing yards. But the Lions' run defense is really fucking good, man. They haven't allowed 100 yards to a running back all season long. Justin Fields is the only one who rushed over 100 yards, got 104. They allowed the third fewest yards per carry, second fewest rushing yards, 8th in success rate, advanced numbers, raw numbers. They're going to tell you this Lions rush defense is really fucking good. And then you kind of have the, emotional aspect of it, where you have, on one hand, Stafford's return to Detroit. And I don't think Detroit fans hate Stafford by any means. There's a ton of love there. That was their franchise quarterback, best quarterback in franchise history, all of that. But this is also the first game Detroit's going to host at home in 30 years. Last I saw, the cheapest ticket to get in is like $600.
Jesus.
This Detroit, this dome, this home field advantage, I think is going to really be able to hype up and will Detroit to victory. I got the Lions winning this game. It was a game I went back and forth on really the whole week, and they match up evenly. They really do. But I think having that home field advantage, having all of that crowd that's going to be going fucking crazy, seeing their Lions in the playoffs for the first time in our lifetime at home, I think that's the little edge I have to give them. I think you could look at both sides. Yes, I think you can look at both sides. You can nitpick and find, well, the Rams do this better, well, the Lions do this better. And I think they match up pretty evenly, but I'm slightly leaning the Lions here. I think they win.
And that's the issue with this game, or that's the trouble with this game, is I think both teams do match up well against each other. And the Rams defense is like a little bit better on paper, but they're very susceptible to explosive plays. So I think in this game, we will see a deep shot to Jameis Williams that they could potentially connect on. I think it's going to be a point of emphasis to really spread the field vertically. So this is an evenly matched game, and I listen, I don't disagree with a lot of what you said. I
Game
think
of the week.
This is a very emotional game
That's
for the
Sunday,
Lions.
8 o'clock, right?
Yeah, I think so.